Here, look, thank you. I'm sure many of us saw the on Twitter, the video of the exchange between the member of An Garda Síochána and Billboard Chris, a Canadian father of two who has been touring North America and now Europe, engaging in conversations around the use of puberty blockers on children. While walking Grafton Street over the weekend wearing a sandwich board which read, "Children cannot consent to puberty blockers," he had a lengthy conversation with a Garda who advised him that he could find himself falling afoul of Section 7 of the Criminal Justice Public Order Act 1994, which prohibits the distribution or display of any writing, sign or visible representation which is threatening, abusive, insulting or obscene with intent to provoke a breach of the peace. The Garda later returned and clarified to Chris that he was entirely within his rights to do what he was doing. But it really goes to show anybody else could well and truly have been intimidated and could have chosen to leave the area or stop exercising their freedom of speech for fear of prosecution. I do feel for the members of An Garda Síochána it must be very difficult to make a judgment call in the moments as to whether any given section of the law is being transgressed. What aids this is having a clear-cut, unambiguous law which have clear tests involved to establish wrongdoing. What makes their job almost impossible is law which is broad and sweeping in nature and which can criminalise almost any behaviour depending on the circumstances in which it occurs and how it is perceived by those around it. Our new hate speech offences bill, of course, falls firmly in the latter category. This kind of thing is exactly what we're talking about when we say that this legislation will have a chilling effect, causing people to self-censor. And it will shut down genuine debate because people will fear arrest or prosecution. So I think we need a debate, even before the bill is before this House, on what kind of a country we want to live in when it comes to freedom of speech and the free and open exchange of ideas. Thank you.
Senator Keogan spoke about the challenges for the Gardaí in enforcing what can be seen as quite broad sweeping legislation, and I am glad that that individual was allowed to demonstrate, as is his right as a person to do that. And I want to commend the Garda for coming back and correcting his position. That was, that was just, I think it's a good characteristic that one can acknowledge that they've made a mistake, they went and sought advice and they've come back and corrected it. So he's to be commended for doing that. And very often people don't do that. But it is going to be a tricky thing. And I think, that the message being displayed on the board, I'm sure many people would agree with. But again, doesn't often get the debate that it needs in either House or in public discourse. And I would agree with you, Senator, in terms of the need to obviously balance the rights of individuals with obviously the overarching right for free speech and exchange of ideas, and to make sure that we do strike that right balance. And no doubt there will be a very forthright debate here in the Chamber and many views exchanged when we do go to consider the upcoming hate crime legislation.